How do we help each of the Enneagram types to access more intuition, more inner guidance, more wisdom? I'm going to go through each of the Enneagram types, starting with each of the triads, which I call the red poles, the blue poles, and the green poles. I'm going to show you what the biggest barrier or block is for the red, blue, and green poles to being able to access their intuition. I'm going to bring up one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen Enneagram coaches, practitioners, leaders, and anyone who loves the Enneagram make around assuming that red poles, being gut types, have an easy access to their intuition and why that's not true and what's true instead. And then I'm going to give you one little beautiful tip per type based on their pole about how each type can access their intuition more easily. You can use this information for yourself, of course. You can use it if you're parenting an Enneagram type, your loved ones, your friends, your families, and of course you can use this if you are coaching the Enneagram, because my community involves a lot of coaches and leaders, guides, consultants, facilitators who use the Enneagram almost every day as a growth path tool. We are all about helping each Enneagram type grow to its highest expression. So that's what you're going to get from this video. So strap yourself in and let's have a look. So here you have what I call our one-pager, which we give to our students on our Enneagram 101 and on our ICF, Internationally Coach Federation accredited Enneagram coaching programs. And you can see 8, 9, and 1 are red, and 5, 6, 7 are blue, and green is 2, 3, and 4. Now, classically, they are called the gut, heart, and head triads. And herein lies the biggest mistake around intuition. And that is, of course, if you've spotted it, the word gut. So I'm going to link the big mistake to an overall understanding of how intuition works for our red poles, blue and green. Now, the reason I call the Enneagram poles is as a reminder that the Enneagram is not based on what we do, not on our behavior. It is based on why we do what we do. Just like a pearl is formed around a grain of sand, that is the hidden driver, the hidden reason for behavior. And we make a lot of mistakes with the Enneagram, typing mistakes, as well as mistakes when we are guiding other people to grow to their highest expression, whether that's as a leader, as a parent, as a coach. When we don't understand those reasons, those deeper reasons. So you'll see that's why I give these keywords for red pole, blue, and green. And it's also very important never to separate those words. You don't look at the word anger on its own. You don't look at the word separation on its own for blue. You see them connected. They rise and fall together. So for a red pole, it's gut plus resistance plus impact plus some measure of anger on the continuum of anger, everything from a mild grr to a full-blown rage. So the blue pole fear is everything from a cautious, jittery, nervous feeling all the way to full-blown anxiety, terror. And the green pole, it's embarrassment, awkward, self-consciousness, image concern, to shame, all the way through to deep, deep self-loathing. And I know that's quite an extreme, soft volume to high volume, but that is the full continuum. Now, our green poles don't live permanently in shame. Our blue poles don't live permanently in fear. Our red poles don't live permanently in anger. To understand the pole is to understand that our red poles, when the gut, which is the physically felt somatic sense of the body, feels resistance to impact, some amount of anger is triggered. And anger is also the last thing to heal for our red pearls. For our blue pearls, anxiety or the fear continuum is linked to the mind that is dividing and separating, categorizing, putting information into patterns to appease anxiety, to keep the nervous system regulated. And our green pearls, the dominant driver, is at the heart, which is the heart wants what the heart wants. Desire is showing you what you need to see in order to protect the image, in order to not experience that trigger of shame, which can feel like embarrassment at its smallest level and can be more extreme when that shame and when that image and then the masking gets exaggerated. So we all feel all three, but the Enneagram is the driver. It's the dominant center of gravity. Now you combine that with the primary polarities, which are these key polarizing concepts for each. So you'll see strong versus weak, peaceful versus disruptor, good versus bad, etc. for each type. And it has only taken me 25 years, well, perhaps about 22 years, to realize that this is the essence of every type. You take the pearl, you combine it with the polarity, and you've got the type. Now, back to intuition. The red pearls, here's the mistake. We see gut and we think, oh, yes, I must be a red pearl because I've got a pretty good gut feel of things, Cole. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard that, but it's simply not true, right? What we mean by red pearl gut is not intuition. All 9 types can be intuitive. I'll say that again. Of course, all 9 types can be intuitive. All 9 types can access inner wisdom. They can all build their wisdom well if they know how. And all 9 types are blocked from accessing this deeper aha moment, inner guidance, epiphany, insight, part of ourselves, the depth of ourselves. Gut does not mean, oh, well, they have more access. The red pearls do not have the trademark on intuition. And I'll tell you quickly a story about my humbling moment of realizing this. My eldest daughter is a red pearl. She's a 8 on the Enneagram. And I have 2 blue pearl daughters. My youngest, 6 on the Enneagram, and the middle child is a 7 on the Enneagram. And it was my 7 on the Enneagram daughter who once said to me, after she had been working with the Enneagram for many years, she said, Mom, and she was expressing this, I don't think it was sadness, but she was expressing some feedback to her mom, which was very brave, I thought. I'm very intuitive and I'm very gut focused, but it's because my personality is a 9. So I had the blind spot that what the red pearl describes and experiences as intuition is the same for all the types, and that somehow a red pearl had an advantage. A very beautiful but difficult conversation with my 7 on the Enneagram daughter revealed to me an aha moment, that the blue pearls experience intuition through the mind, but it is still different to the surface mind. Just like the gut has a surface and a depth, and the heart has a surface and a depth. And what my daughter described is that she experiences her normal chatter, busy mind, and she experiences a deeper intelligence as her intuition. And this was so revolutionary for me, and I'm very grateful for her. I mean, being a mom has taught me so much. And I started experimenting with this in the workplace, working with clients, teaching. And over the years, it's really, really proven to be very valuable. So if we look at it, what I mean nowadays, the last few years, by gut is more of a physically felt gut punch. Sometimes blue pearls think, yeah, I've got a pretty good gut instinct, but we all have somatic awareness. We all have a heart, we all have a mind, we all have a gut, 3 centers of intelligence. But I'm not meaning intuition by gut. It's a reflex in the body, just like if a doctor hits your kneecap in a certain way, a little nerve gets triggered and your leg will kick out automatically. That's a reflex. Our 8, 9, and 1s, the body feels resistance and impact and is triggered by some degree of irritation, anger, when that reflex is active. And the gut feeling for a red pearl is physically felt. The same way we would feel if there was a little bit of an earth tremor. You'd feel it in your body. So it's very somatic. Whereas intuition is translated via the mind for a blue pearl and via the heart for a green pearl. So a red pearl, the intuition is translated more somatically, but doesn't mean it's not somatic for blue or green. It's just that is the center. And then now we get to the block. The biggest block for our red pearls is actually the gut somatic reflex. It is a survival reflex. Now, each Enneagram type is going to give you a clue about its biggest block. The block for our blue pearls, and we'll come back to that, sorry. Our block for our blue pearls is that it's the surface mind that blocks intuition for blue pearls. It's the surface gut that blocks intuition for red. And it's the surface heart that blocks intuition for our green pearls. So intuition is what any of us gets when we send our bucket deeper than the surface. And if you keep the bucket on the surface, you get a bucket full of sand. And for a red pearl, that's a bucket full of somatic feelings in the body, which are not necessarily intuition. They, in fact, 9 out of 10 times are resistance. I'll wait for that. Pause for effect. When our blue pearl keeps the bucket on the surface, they get a bucket full of separating divisive thoughts, not deeper intelligence. And when the bucket stays on the surface for the green pearls, they get a bucket full of longing and desire in the heart. Deep, intense feelings, which are not the deeper felt emotion of the heart that people talk about when they talk about the heart's intuition. So, into each Enneagram type and each pearl can access intuition, but the pearl can be the block to the intuition. Red pearl is blocked by surface gut, which is just physical somatic reflex. Blue pearl is blocked by separating, divisive, polarizing thought. Mind being mind at the surface level. And the longing of the green pearl's heart can be the biggest block to intuition. And our green pearls can also get confused, just like red and blue can, thinking it's intuition when it's actually, when the heart doesn't know its wholeness, it can be the driver. And it can feel like intuition is making me do this, guiding me. Meantime, it's actually lack. A lack in the heart could be the driver. Now, I hope that is landing for you because it's a very helpful and important insight. Let me know. So all 9 types, all 3 pearls can access intuition. Red pearls can be blocked by the gut. Blue pearls can be blocked by the mind, and green pearls can be blocked by the heart. And we can all mistake what we are experiencing as intuition when it's not. I can tell you time and time again that I've heard red pearls think it's intuition when it's actually just gut resistance. I've heard blue pearls think it's intuition when it's actually mind, anxiety-based polarization or divisiveness separating. And heart types, green pearls, that thought it was intuition when it was actually the secret longing of the heart that wasn't incomplete, or that was incomplete. So each of us can learn that, and that's a tough learning. Is my gut telling me the truth, or is it actually resistance in disguise? Is it my personality's resistance? Is my mind telling me the truth, guiding me wisely? Or is it my mind dividing things up as a blue pill to keep me safe? And it's actually fear in disguise of intuition. Is it my heart's true intuition? Or is it my heart's longing for completion, concern about how I am seen by others so that I don't feel shame, driving this decision? And I think it's intuition. Meantime, it's the longing of my heart. That seemed terribly dramatic, but it is. And I don't want to minimize this. It's just a bit of cold, quirky humor getting in there, right? So if we know this, now the question becomes, so how do each of us access our real intuition if we know that our pearl can be blocking it? So I'm going to throw in an intuition teaching now that I teach in our life coaching, InnerLifeSkills master coaching courses. And that is the teaching of open versus closed. When we focus attention on something that is not true, when we're not seeing clearly, we experience a closing, a closing that is felt in the nervous system. Now, each of these three centers, red, green, blue, closes in a slightly different way. But it is the closing of the mind, closing of the heart, and closing of the gut. I'm going to say this really slowly because this is the key insight here. It's the teaching that can change lives. When the mind is closed, when the heart is closed, when the gut is closed, we have no access to intuition. And we may even think that the closing is our intuition when it's not. When it is fear, shame, or anger. When it is separating, divisive, polarizing thought, masked longing and image building of the heart, or resistance, anger, irritation from impact of the gut. When it's the personality's lack of openness that we interpret as intuition. So this requires a bit of self-honesty and a bit of mindful reflection. And if we're guiding other people, that's the opportunity for some challenging stretching of the client or the loved one, if it's appropriate, obviously, or for ourselves. It is only in an open state that the personality does not interfere with our intuition. It is only when the mind is open, the heart is open, and the gut is open, which is felt, known emotionally, somatically, and intelligence, the mind. When the mind feels clear and open, and it's not flag planting, intuition can show up. When the heart isn't masking, and it feels its wholeness, intuition can show up. And when the gut isn't pushing back, resisting impact, intuition can show up. So intuition can flow. That bucket can hit the water in the well when these three are open. So when we are guiding ourselves and others, we want to go to an open state before we access inner guidance. Otherwise, we can literally interpret personality closedness and think it is intuition. Finally, the little tip I promised for each. Okay, thinking about what I've just said. So we're going to go around each Enneagram type and we're going to talk about a little nugget of insight. And I have to go quick because 9 types, 9 little moments, and we can be way too much time on a video. So let's go quickly here. So our 8 on the Enneagram, we're starting with our red pearls. That's strong versus weak, which is felt in the gut. Our 8s tend to have a gut instinct, yes, no, in the body. That is not intuition, it is usually resistance. When an 8 collapses strong versus weak and feels more open to weak, ooh, and that's the hard part right there. Like an 8's like, no, I'm not going to be open to weak. When the relationship with vulnerability changes and an 8 feels open, then the intuition can flow and it's no longer resistance to weakness. When a 9 is no longer resisting disruption, and that's a tough one. Yep. When a 9 is no longer thinking that peace is intuition, and oh, when I'm peaceful, then I'm intuitive. No, 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 no. It's finding intuition in the fire of disruption. Feeling open while impacted and while impacting. That is when the intuition is alive and awake in a 9. And that is the hardest thing to get to sometimes, but it is when a 9 is growing. Yep. When our 1 on the Enneagram is no longer feeling closed, resisting bad, rediscovered that bad means human. Just like a 9 discovers disruption means being awake and alive, and an 8 discovers weak means caring and compassion. Then our 1 can feel real intuition, and it's not just resisting perception of badness as a gut reflex and not real wisdom. You might want to watch this video again because there's lots of little gems here. True? Okay. Our 2, 3, and 4. Now the heart. The heart that longs. This is not heart like we all have a heart. What green pearl means is the heart wants what the heart wants. It is the longing of the heart. And the heart feels sore. It feels painful and closed when it is embarrassed and masking. When it feels shame about, now 2, when a 2 feels closed about selfishness, which means the heart feels that selfishness is embarrassing, that it is a reflection of a poor self-worth. Then intuition can't get through, and wisdom can't get through, and it might even feel like intuition guiding more selflessness, more giving instead of receiving. Our 2 needs to heal this with when our 2 is open to selfishness, to realize it is for self, it is self-care. Now intuition can flow and wisdom can flow. When our 3 on the Enneagram can collapse the polarity of winning and losing and rediscover that the heart's interpretation of losing does not mean I am a loser. It means I've learned how to not do something, that failure is feedback and it helps me improve what I am doing. It doesn't tell me I am not whole and complete. When a 3 heals their relationship with losing and reframes it and discovers I am still whole and complete, regardless of what I am doing, I don't need to prove it with a mask, and they stay open in the losing perception, then intuition can flow for 3. When our 4 doesn't attach identity to specialness, where the heart closes around ordinary, that somehow ordinary is shameful, that somehow ordinary is beneath, that somehow specialness is the only identity that gives me a sense of worth and therefore must be masked. When our 4 can feel open in the heart and discover the extraordinary in the ordinary, the miracle of the blade of grass that is identical to the billions of other blades of grass, to find something in the depth of that, then the intuition can flow in that heart and guide, and our 4 can discover an expression of uniqueness without trying, without masking, and intuition can show up. And our blue pearls, our 5, 6, 7, where the center of intelligence of the mind is dominant, where thoughts, thinking, processing is the strongest driver. When the mind is closed by anxiety for incompetence of the 5, to the point that competency is clung to with the mind, where the mind becomes a hoarder of knowledge and information, separating from anything that is perceived as incompetence, where that becomes a real barrier in the mind. Intuition cannot show up there. And the 5 cannot find the incredible, deeper, intuitive intelligence that comes from the I don't know mind and not the I know mind. When the cup is empty enough to be filled with true intuition instead of book knowledge, which can be a barrier for our fives. So our fives, to discover an open mind towards the I don't know mind, which sounds crazy, right? But to be intentionally incompetent, to discover the gift of not knowing, that is where intuition can finally show up. Surrendered mind, the open mind, instead of the closed mind that's full of knowledge. And our six, now we have two expressions of six. We have our counterphobic and our phobic. So our counterphobic expression is in the fight mode of the same pearl and the same dynamic. And our phobic six is in the flight mode. Both are seeking safety. Our phobic six still believes there is support in the world. Our counterphobic has become disillusioned and disappointed by a lack of support and fiercely independent. But both, the mind is running separation scripts, highly polarizing in its fear state. And what feels like intuition for phobic and counterphobic can actually just literally be a scanning for deception, a scanning for can I trust you, a scanning for us and them camps, for discrepancies, a scanning for power to check power. And what is interpreted as intuition can actually be the mind safeguarding itself by building walls of you versus me, us versus them. Where am I safe in the world? So our sixes, to collapse that polarity, is to find an openness, a different relationship with the concepts of authority, power, support. And instead of clinging to the mind for safety, to find the deeper knowing that collapses all polarities, that collapses all walls, that sees deeper than separation. And I know this sounds like, whoa, Cole, there's lots. You're giving, it's like, slow down, man. When a six can feel open about not feeling supported, which is the strength of the being supporting the self, not as fierce independence polarizing against dependence, being comfortable in my own skin and trusting in faith in self. It's a felt somatic sense that can sneak in there to support the mind's deeper intelligence. Instead of the polarizing mind, it becomes the open unifying mind. So when a six can feel open and the mind can truly be open to all, including authority and power, one's own and others, that allows intuition to flow. And safety can be found within instead of through others or the world and camps. So our sevens, free versus trapped, when our seven's mind can remain open to all perceptions of trapped, including boredom, because the mind of a seven interprets boredom as anxiety because it feels like there's no options. I don't have, where's my exit strategy? Where are my choices? When a seven's mind can feel still and peaceful and open, even in the perception of limited options and limited freedom, intuition can be accessed even in that vulnerable state, even in a state that caused seven to be anxious prior and frightened and running for the next exit strategy or the next shiny object to be distracted from sitting still. And that's when the seven accesses their deeper intelligence. So we've got all three poles, surface gut, surface mind, surface heart, are the barriers. All can access intuition in their own beautiful, unique way, where it becomes the deeper somatic being knowingness of the red pearls, the heart's loving wholeness of the green pearls as an intuition, and the mind's deeper, clear, sentient intelligence. all of them can only be felt in an openness. And openness is when we gift our personalities with wholeness. And that, my beautifuls, is our journey. Not an easy journey, but a worthwhile journey, and something that we can support each other to access and to discover.